loss of the body. We celebrate the releasing of the spirit. Close quote. Lieutenant Worf, Star Trek, The Next Generation. Thank you all for coming today to celebrate the life of my brother, Charles Austin, his life in his spirit. Chuck was born May 10, 1970. He was born right here, or somewhere very close to here, when this used to be Letterman Army Hospital. So somewhere between here and the Yoda Fountain, Mom had Chuck. Thanks, Mom. Chuck attended Sierra Vista Elementary School in South San Francisco, Marina Middle School in San Francisco, Washington High School in San Francisco, and San Francisco State University. At the latter two institutions, he excelled on the debate teams, winning local, regional, and statewide competitions. He was a mentor to his teammates in high school, and he later coached for debate teams at Diablo Valley College and San Francisco State University. Throughout his life, Chuck had deep interests. Particularly, he had deep interests in chess, movies, and music. Chess. Chuck and I played a lot of chess when we were youngsters. Lyle, you were a part of that. We played a lot of chess. Three of us played a lot of chess.
About the 43 Masonic incident.
That
was a conspiracy.
I won't get into that. But
Oh, no, I want that.
we played a lot of chess together. It was good for our developing brains. At one point, Chuck got really serious about chess, and he had a chess tutor, a guy named Gil Ramirez, who was a family friend. Gil was a pretty serious chess player. He once played Bobby Fischer to a draw. Wow. And he would come over to the house on Saturday mornings and help Chuck step up his chess game. He even assigned him homework. He gave him sections of a book to read called My System, which was written by a Danish grandmaster named Aaron Dimzovich. So think about it, a 7th grade public school kid being assigned to read Dimzovich. I mean, that's not standard fare, but that was Chuck. And the experience with Gil was very beneficial. As a middle school student, Chuck was ranked among the top players at citywide chess tournaments. My recollection was they played a lot of some of the private schools, I think Stewart Hall and some others, and some of the private school kids had a little attitude. They were a little cocky. They would move a pawn, they would drop it with authority. But I think Chuck derived a lot of satisfaction when he beat it in those tournaments. He liked sticking it to him. Movies. Chuck loved movies. He loved the movie theater experience. We got that from Mom and Mel. Mom and Mel, you guys took us to all kinds of movies from a very early age. Big blockbusters, comedies, intimate character dramas, international films, documentaries, the whole gamut. Everything from E.T. to My Dinner with Andre. We got it. And after Chuck passed, I went to see the latest Mission Impossible movie, and I must say it was very difficult that he was not there. Because we'd seen so many movies together, had so many great times in the theater. Mom, you took us to see Star Wars when it came out in 1977. You dragged us there. And really impactful to this day for both myself and Chuck. Music. Chuck, professionally, he was very, very talented in sales. He was a natural, but his true calling was music. He taught himself how to play the guitar. He wrote songs. He played open mics in San Francisco. That's where his heart was. And speaking of San Francisco, Chuck was a loyal son of the city of San Francisco. He was the most passionate San Francisco Giants fan that I've ever known. He attended many regular season games and postseason games at both Candlestick and Oracle Park. He was very vocal about his feelings for the Giants to the point that his intensity was noticed by the players, coaches, and umpires on the field. I'll give one example of that. I remember this was the late 90s, so the Giants were still at Candlestick. The Dodgers were in town. I got hooked up with umpire family tickets. So these were behind home plate, just a few rows back. Amazing tickets. The Dodgers had a player at that time named Wilton Guerrero, the brother of Vladimir Guerrero. Wilton had just come off suspension for using a cork bat. That's when you hollow the bat out and put cork in there, it makes it lighter, increases the bat speed. That's against the rules. So Wilton Guerrero was back with the Dodgers. Chuck gave him the business the entire game. He kept calling him Corky. He kept calling him Corky Guerrero. And at Candlestick, back then, the visiting players couldn't leave through the dugout. They had to go out on the field. And so when the game was over, the Dodgers walked the field. And Wilton had his bats. He turned around. He had to know who was on the whole game. And if he didn't have the bats in his hand, I'm sure he would have made a gesture. So it was like, Chuck, you got him. You got him. So,
How about your Wi-Fi password?
what? Oh, well, what, Giant Chuck? Absolutely. Absolutely. Watching games now that Chuck's not here, I think about him all the time. I think about what would Chuck think about this play? What would Chuck think about this strike call? What would Chuck think about the latest Giants trades? Just it's impossible to separate my Giants fandom from Chuck. It'll always be there. I have not been to the ballpark since his passing, but I'm gonna think of him when I'm there. Chuck was a creative, he was competitive, he was a colorful person. As I've said elsewhere, Chuck was more than a people person. As his good friend Ben LeClaire put it to me, Chuck was a connector of people. He was good at reaching out to people and connecting with their friends. It was one of Chuck's talents, bringing people out of the dark into the light. One of the gifts I've gotten from Chuck is that in the last few years, I've gotten closer with his close-knit friends. And some of them are in this room. And I really value that. It's a great bunch of guys. You know who you are. And lastly, I'll say that, I had so many great times with Chuck. Just, whether it was fooling around in summer school or watching the Giants break through finally and win the World Series. There's just so many, and Chuck always supported me. There were times in my career where I would doubt myself. Everyone's career has ups and downs. My career certainly had its ups and downs, but Chuck always had some great confidence in me, and that was a source of strength. So, Chuck, I'm gonna miss you every day. I'm gonna think about you every day, and I love you, Chuck.